The religious desperately want to convert the heathens, but in our increasingly intellectual world, they're having a much harder time today than ever before. Because really, what are they going to say? Nothing intelligent, I assure you. So here we go with a short video that demonstrates exactly why the staunchly religious are getting absolutely nowhere fast. So get ready for some cringe. This is a pretty quick take. We're looking at a channel from someone calling themselves Missionary Spencer Smith as he tries to explain to a theist who wants to know how you should witness to an atheist. And of course, Spencer has no good answers because really, what's he going to say? This is exactly why the religious are failing so miserably and having to go looking for primitive peoples who just might fall for their stupidity. Seriously, it's kinda hard to do worse than this. If you want to know how to convert an atheist, you don't do it like this. So stick around. At least it might be good for a laugh.
Tiffany says, currently having a conversation with an atheist who strongly believes in evolution. Any advice on how to share the good news? Yeah, share the good news. Don't worry about the evolution.
When you can't actually address something intellectually, well, you just pretend it doesn't exist. I mean, what else are they supposed to do? They aren't going to be able to go up against the single best defended theory in all of biology, so they'll just ignore it. If you can brainwash that atheist into believing your unsupported religious rhetoric, well, it just won't matter anymore because they'll stop caring about reality too. It's really their only hope.
If you argue evolution, you're on their court. You've lost home court advantage. But you talk about the Bible and Jesus, God's love for you, that'll work on them. And really, when you're talking to an atheist about evolution and you want to get them saved and you stay in that realm of evolution, what you've done is you've stayed in the realm of the intellect. And the gospel is not an intellectual thing per se. The gospel is a spiritual concept.
Hey, you said it, not us. The Bible isn't an intellectual thing. Okay, whatever you say. Because here's the reality. We actually have a great deal of respect for intelligence, unlike the religious who only go in for emotion. This is why they never do well against atheists, because they want us to forget all about reality and buy into their ridiculous religious fantasy because they simply can get no traction whatsoever when it comes to the real world. It's why they live in a fantasy land. The first thing that would happen if anyone came up to me and wanted to share the gospel, well, I'd ask them how they intended to prove it. Because if they can't, then they're just wasting their time. All the faith and spiritual nonsense in the world, those don't impress me one bit. Now, it doesn't come down to evolution because as soon as they start talking about magic men in the sky creating things out of nothing, and that's an important part of their belief system, then yes, the subject is going to come up because that's where every single solitary bit of evidence that we have lies. And according to Spencer here, they have no answers. You just have to have blind faith. Well, why in the hell would you want to do that? That's like having Tom Cruise show up at your door and tell you that you just have to have faith in Xenu and Thetans. But what complete imbecile would actually do that? Oh, right, these people! It's why they lose so much.
So you have to find a way to go from the intellectualism of evolution into the spirituality of the gospel.
You have to figure out how to go from reality to fantasy. Seriously, you can't make this stuff up, folks. This is what they really believe. And for some bizarre reason, they can't figure out why it's such a joke. This is really no different than having someone walk up to you and asking if you've heard about their Lord and Savior Mickey Mouse. And, being completely serious about it. How can you be so utterly clueless when people laugh at you? I have no idea.
You have to find a way to segue out of that, and that's something that God has to give you wisdom on, and you just have to kind of find a way to, He's going to try to suck you into the, well, what do you do with this? What do you do with that? What do you do with the Big Bang? I mean, just and He's going to quote, basically all they're going to do is regurgitate what Bill Nye and that that Tyson guy, that black scientist. That's what they're going to do. They're just going to regurgitate all that information,
just like you're doing, right? Because let's be honest, what is it that you're saying that you haven't gotten from some guy in a dress on Sunday morning? You're just regurgitating crap from the Bible. The religious are just so buried in their absurd dogma that they can't even see what they're doing wrong. I don't regurgitate Bill Nye. I don't even like Bill Nye. What I do have, though, are the facts. And that's what I'm going to explain. When you don't have any facts, as the religious clearly don't, then all you can do is regurgitate because you can't conceivably come up with any of your own ideas. All you can do is repeat the ideas of people who came before you. And that's what religion is. Anyhow, Spencer, you go ahead and finish up. Let's see if you can go out with a bang.
And when you get them out of that arena, then you can actually help them. And so that's the hard part. So,
and yes, that's exactly how it ended. The link to the original is in the description. I don't understand why these people can't actually make videos. Far too many of these actually end in the middle of sentences. Either they have no idea how to edit, which I guess is entirely possible, or they're just not that smart, which seems to be even more likely. Anyhow, what do you think of Spencer's argument? Just ignore reality, pretend it doesn't exist, and push your own emotionally comforting, unsupported fantasy. I just don't see that working, do you? I mean, eventually, it's going to come up, and you have to have something intelligent to say other than, nah. The religious need to come up with some kind of intelligent response to evolution, but theirs is not an intelligent belief. Even Spencer here says so. They can't argue the facts, so you just have to have blind faith that they're wrong, and that's not how reality works. They are going to have an increasingly difficult time in the modern world where more and more people know what the facts are and are unwilling to simply ignore them for emotional comfort. They are going to have to come up with intellectual ways to address these issues with their faith, and I don't think they know how. They are so used to wallowing in ignorance because it was never that hard to find the uneducated and ill-informed before that you could just fast talk into believing their nonsense. That time is rapidly coming to an end, at least in the first world. And that's why, if you notice, they're putting all of their eggs in the third world basket. When you run out of gullible people back home, you have to go looking for them elsewhere. But what happens when we manage to lift the third world out of ignorance as well? Are they going to start preaching to sheep and goats? I don't know. Their theology will change, and now they'll have to save barnyard animals because they're the only ones dumb enough to fall for it. The future for religion is not bright, especially for these anti-reality advocates. The time for their virtual extinction is nigh. Maybe we need to push for it to happen just a little sooner.
bum.